That was a stop line, so the traffic laws. G'day, Razor. If you're worried about traffic laws, you're gonna be aghast at what we're doing next. It's a long 20 seconds waiting for the next minute to tick over. There we go. Off we go. So 17:20. So we are not expecting this to be a PB of any sort regardless. But hey, you never know. Maybe the map changes have been significant enough. But yeah, we are going to be driving through the night, unfortunately, for a lot of it. $16 hours from 17:25, so it'll be like late morning that we finish, I guess. And that depends on whether or not we crash horrifically. These are runs that can easily die by just smashing into traffic. Thankfully, doing an IGT run, you can make the most of a little traffic reload. Hopefully the engine isn't too loud. It's going to be rather noisy as we're trucking along. Normally I don't actually have microphone on for a lot of these speedruns. There's actually a viewpoint or something up here, looks like, or a photo opportunity. Interesting. If it's a photo opportunity, we might even just do it because it won't advance time.
Keep right.
So 98 seems to be the most that we're going to be able to do. Ooh, I remember this bit. Yeah, we have to brake rather hard. Especially when there's traffic. Because we can't cut the corner much here. It is a viewpoint. Okay, so viewpoints we're not going to do. Photos we could do. Viewpoints we can't. This is a long chassis, so we are not going to corner as well as we would like. Back onto cruise control. Set to 98. We're actually going to dial that up further. Way higher than what we would naturally be able to do, but it just makes it so that we don't hit something going downhill and then it stops. So we've got 1,600 miles to travel, and distance to empty is 2494. With realistic fuel consumption turned off, that just ticks down as expected. With realistic fuel consumption turned on, you actually chew through it faster depending on the revs and such, how you're driving instead of just the distance you're traveling. So that's why we turn that off, because otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't make it. Any longer speedrun than this, we're starting to get to the point where fuel strategy might be a thing, and you've got to determine, do you stop and fill up, or do something else? Less of a concern for real-time speedrun, because you can do the emergency service skips, so you're traveling less distance, so your fuel lasts longer. But for an in-game time, it's a bit more consequential. So you definitely only want to stop for gas in a city or a dilation zone of some sort if you can help it, because otherwise time will tick very quickly. And not every service station has the 20 to 1 instead of the 3 to 1. Hey, 101 mile now. Nice. So we've already been on the road for an hour in-game. So we're about a 16th of the way there. Approximately. We can actually jump into the settings and turn the engine down when you do the engine volume. It's just very pervasive, unfortunately. You do need to have game sounds, especially like engine note and stuff, audible for a speedrun to be valid. Because otherwise we have genuinely had people submit runs before where it's very clearly not their actual gameplay, and the sound has just been completely faked. Getting sunstrike. Dangerous. Why are polarized windshields not a thing? Maybe they are, but you need to just simulate having polarized sunglasses on. Reduce glare. The shadow from our bat, or our longhorn rather, shaking in the sun there. That's amusing. That's a nice touch. I didn't even realize that it did that. I knew that the cabin physics made it sway around. I didn't realize that it affected the sun rays coming through. That's quite hilarious. Are there marker poles on the side? There are not. Good.
Turn right.
I've no idea how fast I can safely take that corner, so if in doubt, brake slightly. On the one hand, you want to take inside lines as much as possible, but sneaking up on the shoulder to get around things is quite useful. Driving on the wrong side of the road here would probably be the best strategy, to be honest. Then as soon as you sneak slightly in front of a AI traffic, they will brake, and they'll pull back and let you duck in front of them. You just need to slightly intrude on them and they'll recognize the possibility of an accident and brake suddenly, which is nice. Just need to influence AI driver behavior where you can. Using your indicators can also influence their behavior. Why are we only going 76, by the way? Okay, so that is a bad thing. This gearbox got stuck in 16th gear and it did not change up into 18. So for a long time there we were not travelling optimally. In a real speedrun, I mean this is a real speedrun, but in a PB attempt, which this is not particularly, that would be a reset. Because if you're stuck in the wrong gear for that length of time, yeah, it's not good. That's a lot of wasted progress by going 20 k's an hour, 20 miles an hour slower than you should be going. That's the thing, is you can set the cruise control wherever you like, but if the gearbox gets stuck, sometimes they're a bit stupid, unfortunately. That's where you can swap to a sequential and do it yourself, but otherwise just dropping to neutral and then back again usually fixes it. Because it'll recognize, oh, I need to be in this gear based on what speed I'm doing. And here we go through Albuquerque. Please don't sue me, Weird Al. Let's go around because we've got a bit of a moving roadblock going on here.
Keep left.
Two and a half hours on the road so far. New viewpoint. And there was a photo op for the big intersection as well. Definitely a few places we need to come back to. I mean, theoretically, I know that I'm not going to PB with this, but I still don't want to stop and waste time on those just at the moment. Another time, perhaps.
Keep right, then exit right.
Being on the other side of the road would actually be better here, but I'm not sure if there was a good place to skip across the centre line.
Keep left.
Sometimes it's just not worth the hassle, even though it would result in a much better corner.
Turn left.
Got a little bit lucky with the traffic there. Yeah, so we're meant to change into 18th gear all the way at like 55 miles an hour. Get the lovely desert sunset. Unfortunately, going into the outside view when you're not pulling a trailer is not that great, because the camera is still far too close. It doesn't follow like a consistent distance away, it's always relative to the overall length of your truck. Which on the one hand is good when you're carrying a very long load, but I prefer it if there was a minimum distance that it stuck to. To illustrate what I mean, this is what we get as an outside view. That's not very good. Not very productive. So I'm just trying to think what the PB pace would be, so like 16 hours and 40 I think it was, from 1720, so that's 7 to get to 24 to reset it again, so 7, so then it'll be 9, so 9:20 plus 40, basically 10 AM. If we reach Seattle before 10 AM, then we've probably PB'd. We're not going to do that, but it's good to keep track of it. We'll see how far off pace we are. Let's just chuck high beams on just to increase our visibility. Unfortunately, it gets dark a bit too early for my liking. 9 PM already and it's dark. Gross. I mean, we're going steadily north. I don't know how it changes in terms of the day-night cycle in the game. Whether or not, if I'm further north, that it will be lighter later and lighter earlier for daybreak. I hope so. Because since we're finishing much further north, hopefully it'll actually be daylight earlier than we would normally expect. Imagine being in the dark as late as 9 PM. At the moment, midsummer, like over here being late January, longest day is like late December, so we're a month after the longest day. It's still light at like 10 PM here. And that just gets more and more pronounced the closer you get to the pole. I mean, that's just what happens, you know, the planet's on a tilt, dude. When we were in Inverness, 2014, we were over there basically for midsummer, like it was practically the longest day when we were in the north of Scotland. And we were further north then than it is possible to get south in New Zealand. Like the closest thing in the southern hemisphere is, I think, South America. And there was like 4 hours or less of nighttime because it was just light until basically midnight, and then dawn started around 4 AM.
Keep left, and then turn left.
I mean, it doesn't help when you do daylight savings,
Keep right,
so
and then turn right.
people put get the extra hour of daylight in summer when you don't need it.
Turn right.
Go figure. I don't like daylight savings at the best of times. I especially don't like that it feels backwards. If you want an extra hour of daylight, surely you want that in winter, not in summer. Daylight savings is just stupid. it's, put it this way, it's definitely outdated. It had its purpose back in like wartime for fuel rationing and things like that. It no longer has that purpose. It hasn't done for 60 years or more. Hate it. As a programmer, I doubly hate it. Oh yeah, I just...
Right, and then turn right.
Yeah. My previous job, we did energy billing systems. And we had to service companies that serviced places in Australia where there was basically 3 different time zones within a few kilometers of each other. So you could have customers that were, like the one energy retailer served customers who were in 3 different time zones. One of which didn't do daylight savings. Which is, yeah, really annoying. Didn't have any impact really. It did. Like, it did make a difference, say, way back in like World War II.
Keep right, and then turn right.
But I think just it's hard to determine because just general rationing and strategies like lights off at night to avoid being bombed had more of an impact. So, yeah, at best it had a minimal impact a century ago. At worst it had no impact whatsoever. So why do we keep doing it to ourselves? Yeah. My advice to people who want an extra hour of daylight, get up an hour earlier. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be also annoying if it was light at like 4 AM. So having the hour shifted to the evening is more useful, but can we just keep it that way? Just change our nominal time zone. Don't keep swapping it every 6 months. Moment New York State gets rid of DST, so do you. So you're really hoping that Americans make a smart decision. Good luck with that. Specifically, American lawmakers, I should clarify.
Go straight.
It's passed Congress already. Excellent. Then doubly good luck and more genuine that time. Yeah, it would be nice if we just could get rid of it. It just never seems to come up as an issue. I don't know why. You feel it should. But people just moan about it, you know, when it comes up and then forget about it. I just wish someone would just pass a bill already and just get rid of it. Yeah, it comes up literally every year. Yeah, twice. Twice every year. But unfortunately, 6 times each election cycle isn't enough for them to make it any sort of priority. It's doubly annoying because our government at the moment, this whole term, it's elections at the end of this year, but the whole term up to this point, they have had a majority. They could do what they like, basically. And they've done very little. They could make huge quality of life changes, like getting rid of daylight savings and making all sorts of really good things that would make people just feel better. But they just sit on their hands and do sweet FA. It's really annoying. They just try and muscle through much more banal things that don't fix anything and just cost lots of money, which is really annoying. Do too much business with New York State. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's the same reason that there are places in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that use the New Zealand time zone, even though they are hours to the east of us. So for them it must be really weird. Like, daylight hours do not match up with the actual, like, time on the clock at all. But they do so for the sake of trading with us, essentially.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Which makes me feel really sorry for them when it comes to daylight savings too, because then we screw them over doubly every year twice.
Keep right, and then turn right.
And it's especially interesting that you guys have gotten rid of it, given how far north you are, because generally the argument is that the closer to the equator, the less you need it anyway, but the further from the equator, the more relevant it becomes. So it's especially interesting when places further from the equator do get rid of daylight savings, because clearly they've recognised that there's no benefit. I kind of wish that there was an option in this game to just turn off the day-night cycle as well, and just set it to a particular time of day. Would be kind of nice. I mean, it would completely screw with this particular speedrun because we need the time of day to advance, but... Daylight's all messed up anyway? Exactly, yeah. There's like this small band where it's actually useful, and then beyond that you would have to adjust things so much more, and then you get to a point where it's just daylight all day around anyway, so who cares? Unfortunately, it's that temperate band where it was considered relevant is where people lived at the time, you know, namely England. England and Europe, and then they just set a bad precedent for the rest of the world. I'm sure there are parts of the world that when they come here, they'll be just asking, you do what? Because they won't have any concept of it, because they wouldn't have needed to, and they would have known better.
Straight.
Okay, tight corner up here. Eesh, okay. Extra braking. We slowed down a lot there, but it was that'll hit a truck. Probably could have gone a bit further left, but being as dark as it is, I couldn't tell if there was a thing there. There's a photo opportunity up that way, that's interesting. So many places that we need to come back and revisit again now that we've got the photo gallery and the viewpoints backported to other states.
Keep left, and then turn left.
Which I do appreciate, it gives me a really good excuse to go back and revisit places. I should probably be doing that better rather than just zooming through it at the speed of sound, but you know. Another time. We're just having fun at the moment. It's probably not as interesting as a normal speedrun where I would just not be talking and just have the music going instead. I'm sure people would prefer to watch that. There's plenty on my channel if that's what you would prefer. I'll probably link to, once this is on YouTube, I'll probably link to both my RTA and IGT runs in the description anyway.
Keep right, then exit right.
This is more of a de-rust than anything. Gotta go fast.
Exit right.
Yep. We got away with that. Just an extra little touch of the brake and we get away with 2% damage instead of 100 probably. If you hit an oncoming vehicle with sufficient force in this game, you will just total your truck immediately. So Price is another one of those places that probably for the IGT run it would actually be better to go through the town instead of staying on the main road. But for simplicity's sake we're just doing what the map tells me to do. We've got a little less than 9 hours for this to be any sort of PB. So that's not happening. Because we've still got a long way to go. Like, it tells me it's 17 hours. And we're not doing twice the speed limit. I mean, I do also wonder if, like, I was wondering about map changes having made things quicker. It's just as likely that map changes have made things slower. That's happened in a lot of speedrun routes. To competitively run this game, you do have to take a lower version. You can use either depot downloader to find the relevant Steam depot, or a lot of them are still available as beta branches. But they've been starting to trim those out because you can only have a certain number at any point, and it goes back too many versions basically. Because they're up to 1.46 now, I believe. 1.47 is going to be dropping relatively soon, and 1.3x is the butter zone for most speedruns because of physics changes. But, of course, depending on the DLC that you're running, if you're doing something like this, where you need both New Mexico, which is pre-1.3, but Washington, which I can't remember what version that is, but I think it's post-1.3, then you just have to do whatever is compatible with the map. You can't really go back too old that you no longer have the relevant assets. Unfortunately, it doesn't just load it in and give you, like, black squares or whatever. It just crashes. It just tells you it's incompatible. Bollocks. I thought I was going to miss that, but not quite. Now, I've probably lost 18th gear, because you tend to start losing your gears as you take truck damage. Yeah, so we've lost 18th. I believe there is a service station up here just off the main road, so we might be able to just dip in and repair. And it'll cost us a few minutes, but a lot less overall than suffering repeated engine malfunctions. In a real PB attempt, that would be a reset. Halfway through the run and you have to start again. Now, was there a service? There is a truck dealer. Truck dealers usually have service stops. I think I can see a little red underneath the purple icon on the GPS.
Go straight.
So we're going to take a small detour.
Never mind. I'll find it.
This should be in a dilation zone, question mark? Maybe, maybe not. 149. Yeah, it's still 149, so it's 20 seconds per minute.
Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
Squeak. Okay, of course, it's a really inconvenient services to get into, but never mind.
Make a U-turn now.
Burp. Okay. Repair. Service. Repair.
Rerouting.
So that slowed us down a little bit.
Turn right.
I don't know whether or not I can cut the corner if I go left to get back onto the main road, so we'll do things properly. Properly, except for cutting the intersection, obviously. Probably would have been fast to go round, never mind. Small mistakes add up and compound and become big mistakes, unfortunately.
Go straight. Keep left, then turn left. Turn left.
So for future reference, up here, is there a way to jump onto the
Keep
road?
right.
Maybe. No, I think the hill is too steep. I don't think you would get away with that. Okay. Back to cruise control. And now we're on nice wide motorways again, so we don't have to worry about oncoming traffic as much. AM. Hopefully it should start to become light around 4 AM-ish. We can hope. I mean, driving through Utah is a bit featureless anyway, it must be said, especially since we've just been going through the cities. It definitely gets more scenic as we get closer to Seattle, so... No, I think we're going through Idaho, probably, so maybe not. I think north of here is a lot of plains, and then it starts getting interesting.
Keep left.
But yeah, at this point we're just driving through Salt Lake, and then Ogden. Do a little bit of traffic slalom here and there. Photo opportunity to the right, apparently. And then another question mark up ahead. I don't know if that might be a truck dealer that I've not discovered. It's been a long time since I've been in Utah. I can't remember exactly when the DLC's released, but Utah was one of the first expansions, and the game has been out, I think, 7 years now. I think they recently celebrated their 7th year anniversary. So Utah's probably about 5 years old. Looks like it's just a Kenworth dealership. It must have just been one that was added in. Yeah, I should have driven through there to discover it, never mind. A little bit of light in the sky now. See, this is another point. We're probably crossing over to the wrong side of the road to cut these corners a bit and just make us more of a straight line would be better. Since every 3 seconds that you save when out on the open road like this, is an in-game minute. So when you're doing an IGT run, where your time is based on the in-game clock, saving just 3 seconds makes a big difference. I mean, you know, it's all relative, because if you're doing an RTA speedrun, then 3 seconds can still be the difference between first and second. But it just seems much more profound in a run like this, where it's like, how did you manage to get, you know, 15 hours or, you know, 16:30 instead of 16:40? It's like, because I just saved 30 seconds by cleanly cornering. Oh, this was a mistake. Ooh. Not punished. Trucks, right lane. Nah. Now up here, if I was feeling really brave, excuse me, I would jump over to the other side of the road for this intersection up here. But I don't know if I'm feeling that brave. Not at night time, anyway. Oh, and now there's a barrier. Oh no, just for that culvert. Now what? Let's go for it. See, that's much better than going around the long sweeping turn. Now we've got to cross back over. We might just stay on this side for a little while. So it would be the inside line up here to be on the other side. But now there's poles in the way, which is not ideal. Need to wait until it gets back to the point that the lanes are closer together, ideally. Okay, traffic going both ways, both lanes. It's really hard to tell at night, unfortunately, when you have a good shot at crossing over. Last thing we want to do at this point is crash. Bridge up here, though. Oh, no, it's just a split lane section.
Let's find a new recomputing.
I mean, hey, we haven't discovered this piece of road before, so there's that.
Okay.
Thankfully, there's still a shoulder, though.
Never mind. I'll find a new route.
This is where it gets exciting. You could say this is where the fun begins.
Okay. Let recompute. Never mind.
This is where Garol gets really confused.
Never mind. I'll find a new route. Recomputing. Rerouting.
When does it become... Ooh.
Okay.
Excuse me. When does it become not a split road anymore? Okay, here is actually probably the best time. No. Yep, okay. Okay, we made it. We're fine. I didn't notice that there was a ditch until almost too late. Yeah, so I don't think I'd want to be on the wrong side of the road going up here. Maybe it wouldn't matter too much. keep checking my GPS. It's always a case of like, it's not just keeping your eyes on the road, it's also keeping an eye on the dash GPS because it's got the close view, and then the right GPS because it's got the further away view for the general, like, what's coming up next sort of thinking. That way you can be more prepared for various things. Like decisions on what side of the road should I be on. Should I be on the left side? So like up here, it would probably be better for me if I could get back on the left-hand side of the road again. Because we've got like a curve that goes past Boise, that it would be the inside line, so you would save some amount of seconds. But then after Nampa, you want to be on the right side of the road again, because the road curves to the right. But then it goes left again, so it's all of these sorts of little micro decisions that can add up for a proper PB run. And then obviously the traffic. Gotta hope that some of the collision meshes don't extend too far on things like the median strip.
Keep left.
It is at least daytime again, so that's nice. And we've got a nice straight bit, so now we can just go like scenic for a bit and enjoy our truck. And the sunrise. Nice. Always nice to have a little bit of variety. So here's where we go to the right. So we get to be on the shoulder for the inside of the corner, which is nice. Up here, ideally we would jump across to the left, but because that truck is coming, I'm not going to. Because then up here, we can cross back across again for the next bit to go right. Then after Ontario, we'd want to be on the left again. We'll see if opportunity presents itself. Not when there's a bridge. So here we could. There's no ditch,
Recomputing.
so that's a good start.
Okay. Rerouting.
And now we get to confuse our GPS again, which is always fun. Crap. I just noticed just in time that there was a bridge there, so we couldn't cross back over. There we go. There we go. We're fine, we're fine. Nothing to worry about. Now we've got the uphill section. Was I correct in the amount of time it actually was? Maybe I misread my video title or something, because 16 hours 40 seems wrong. That would be less than 3.5 hours to go the rest of the distance. That said, I was using a slightly faster truck, and that extra 5 miles an hour does add up over time. And it's not just the extra 5 miles an hour top speed. I believe that the gearbox that we use, the Allison 10 speed for the old Peterbilt in Kenworth, It also accelerates better. It's got just a better curve. And the greater power, like it's 625 horsepower I think, whereas this is only a 600. So that just gives you a little bit more grunt for acceleration anyway, so it's just lots of little things that all add up. Being able to corner slightly better. I'm both at the same time glad but also sad that none of the newer trucks that they've added to the game have had more powerful engines than the old Peterbilts and Kenworths. On the one hand, it's good that you can just be consistent and use the same truck no matter what. But it would be kind of nice so that the newer versions of the game would get a bit of a boost if you had one that was just a little bit more powerful. It would have to have a good gearbox to go with it is the other thing. Like, I think that the power is good, but the added gear ratio is a real big deal to get the higher top speed. Now, even if it took you slightly longer to reach the top speed, maintaining a higher top speed for longer would add up so much more, especially across a longer run. So what I want, SCS software, is please add a new Volvo or something to the game that has the 750 horsepower engine from ATS 2 and the relevant 12-speed gearbox that has a really good ratio. Because we get up to like 180 miles an hour, or 180 k's an hour, sorry, in that, which I'm fairly sure is faster than what we managed to do on this, because 100 miles an hour is 161 approximately k's an hour. We only generally get up to like 108 maximum. So 110 would be 161 plus another 17, or another 16, 161, so that would be 177, I think. Maths. Doing maths live on stream at midday on a Saturday. Not a good idea. 177 though. And that's if we manage to get 110, which we don't. I also just miss the European trucks and their snub noses, like the flat fronts instead of these. Like this Volvo has a pretty snub nose instead of a fully flat front, or instead of a really long nose like the old trucks have, but I miss the flat fronts. So much better for visibility, and the wheelbase tends to be shorter. Thank you for making a gap for me. So this is Cabbage Hill, I believe, that we have now traversed. See, it said viewpoint, but it's not. Literally says viewpoint. Surely, game devs, that is where you put a literal viewpoint in the game. Pretty tight coming down here. Small wonder that there's a runaway truck wreck. Having to slow down so much. But I don't think the other side of the road's any better. There's even like a full hairpin over there. If you were going the other direction, you'd actually want to be on this side of the road, I'm fairly sure, for going up. Not currently relevant. We don't have any that go from the northwest to the southeast. But maybe. Coast to coast is possible now. The Roswell through to Seattle kind of covers it, going that direction. So for the sake of doing something different, you would kind of want to do like a Bellingham down to a Galveston or something. I don't know what sort of thematic route there would be other than just furthest points. Whether or not there is some sort of link that you could find between two cities. You got like Port Angeles, but there isn't a port city per se in Texas. So I think, yeah, probably Bellingham to the likes of Galveston or something like that anyway would probably be the best, rather than going all the way down to the most southerly point in Texas. Because then you'd probably end up just coming this direction, and that's a bit boring. If we could push it a bit further to the west, no, east, sorry, push the route a bit further to the east so that way you go through some of the other states, that would be more interesting. We can also do just like a border to border now, pretty much. Like you go from the closest point to the Canadian border and just go south down to the likes of Yuma or San Jose, is it, in Texas? Take a look and see what the most northerly city that we have is versus the most southerly city, which would be one of the new Texas ones. Oh, I can bypass the nearby way station. So kind of you. So, to be fair, we are actually chewing up the miles. I was thinking, oh, there's no way in hell that we're getting close to PB. We might actually be closer than I thought, simply because... Ow. I needed to sneak past that car. Simply because the speed limit is actually only 60 and we're doing closer to 100, so we're actually overhauling that ETA quite significantly. Like, it says 4 hours to go, but that's based on an estimate of travelling 60 miles an hour. We're doing 100, give or take, so... Yeah, this is where we should be on the left-hand side of the road, ideally, but never mind. Especially since sometimes those service stops, like the way stations and things, are actually time dilation zones, so they'll be like the in-town, in-game time counter. Sometimes even the other side of the road also counts, but not always. But usually only when it's a shared road. This seems to be like a split road, so it's more likely not. Kind of curious whether going through Yakima would be better for IGT. Not sure. Ooh, tight corner. You know what, the fact that we've had to slow down so much just for that corner? Ah, I haven't discovered that piece of road yet, so I should have stayed there. Never mind. Oh well, too late now. The fact that I had to slow down that much and I'd be accelerating anyway made me want to go this way instead. If I was still going just flat out, full speed ahead, then I would have stayed on the main road. But going this way, we should be in a dilation zone. So less game time should be passing, even if it does take us a little bit longer in real time. But honestly, it might even be faster in real time.
Keep left.
Of course, in real time we'd have just teleported, but still. Then we're just going straight ahead here. We could have jumped up there probably to have a better curve, so we wouldn't have to slow down as much here. That would have been the better thing to do. Because this is where it kind of falls behind again, is having to accelerate from a slower speed here. If we'd got on the other side, we'd have had a smoother curve. But then we'd be on the wrong side for this section here, and we kind of want to be on the right-hand side for this corner, which we'd have to have slowed down for anyway. It's all those little bits that add up, that over time, you just gotta basically test and find out. So even without being the best truck, we do have now a comparison, depending on what I did at my PB anyway. If I did the same thing at my PB, I'm going to feel pretty silly, because I should have done something different for comparison. Again, going onto the wrong side of the road, so even further back, going on the wrong side of the road might have served us better there, because we wouldn't have had to do this corner here, especially with traffic. Yeah, it would have been pretty huge to be on the left side of the road for that. Yeah, so we have 1 in-game hour to go. ETA of 2 hours 10. So not PB pace, but closer than I expected, especially given that the damage we took earlier and having to take a repair around... I can't even remember where it was now. Somewhere in southern Utah, Provo or something. So, you know, not bad, all things considered. So that I probably should have dipped into the way station there on the chance that it changed the time advance to the slow version. But it probably wouldn't have, to be honest. It's another point where being on the left side of the road might be handy for along here, because it has a bit of a tighter turn. Means you have to slow down a bit more for it, of course, but I don't know, the angle on this one is actually pretty steep anyway, so you're still having to slow down a fair bit. But also travel just more distance. I hate having to stay on the shoulder through bits like this. Oops. Yeah, should have gone on the left. I think the big... Oops, I just noticed we were in the wrong gear again. I think that happens just going around corners sometimes. Braking too hard and drops to the gear and then doesn't come back. I think the route that looks like I've taken probably coming out of Seattle would be the one to take going in as well, and that would be to take the left-hand side of the road and then go south on the 405. I think that would actually set us up better for getting into the services. I don't know. Photo opportunity up here, apparently. Resume, leave for the harbour. Very nice. See, they already have the signs for Vancouver, BC on here. Can we just go there yet? I'd love for them to do a BC DLC.
Keep left. right, and then turn right.
Right, so we've bumped over the 10-hour line. Or the 10 a.m.
Turn
line.
right. Keep
So we're going to finish this at about, I don't know, 17 in-game hours.
Keep right.
Which is not
and
bad.
Then turn right. Turn right.
So here's the services up here. Less than
we
17,
are.
in fact.
Safe and sound.
Now we just need to park up over here. Done. And split. 10-14. Not bad. From, I think it was 17-20 from yesterday. Pretty good. And only one crash of note, and that didn't damage us too badly. We just had to pop it and repair slightly. So I've already been to the job offer. Oh, I've already been to the viewpoint there. Curious now, job offer? Seattle to Oakland. No. What I am curious about though, actually, you know, let's just finish this off properly. After every, yes, I've already discovered the viewpoint, but after every Roswell to Seattle speedrun, we have to go to the viewpoint. There we go. And there we have it. Thank you for watching our de-rust run of Roswell to Seattle, using our nice shiny Volvo. And now to drive down to Portland to sell it. Well, not sell it, but trade it and replace it for a new one.